Hi folks, today I'm going to show you a sword that I just got from ShadowDancer, aka Dragon Sword. They recently changed their name from Dragon Sword to ShadowDancer for search engine optimization. This is going to be my first open box video. If I'm being silly anywhere, please bear with me. Just a bit of disclaimer, I'm very interested in and committed to learn and practice Japanese swordsmanship. I practice Katori Shinto-ryu under the instruction of senseis from Japan, and I also read books on swordsmaking, appreciation, and the history. But I do not consider myself an expert at the moment. I do tamashigiri, but just for fun, and I'm not very serious about that. So when I get a sword, I pay more attention to the appearance and balance, and this might bias my review. This sword is not exactly a review sample, but they did send it to me for free. The story is, I bought a customized S7 from them with my own money, which got featured in their commercials. I posted a very short experience on Reddit and shared its pros and cons fairly objectively. I was super happy with that purchase and told them I will come back for another sword in the future. They saw that post, took the feedback, and asked me whether I wanted to do an open box video for them, and that's it. They only asked me to introduce the sword objectively, just like my Reddit review. I said okay, because I was going to experiment with making videos anyway. The nice thing is that they actually allow me to pick whichever I want from their high-end models, and I picked this one because it looks really beautiful. I shoot video using my iPad Pro. The camera sometimes do not capture all the details of the blade. If you want to inspect the sword at high resolution, you can check out their commercials. The blade is made of crucible steel. I think generally Dragon Sword and ZC do not disclose the ingredients, so I do not know specifically how that fits into the modern categorization of steels. The blade has a very unique and uncommon geometry. It's called nagamaki tsukuri. So this type of blade was originally mounted on naginatas, but during the Sengoku period, naginatas are less used in battles, so some of them just got trimmed to fit into a uchi-katana koshirai. For this one particularly, the blade is 27.5 inches or 2.3 shaku. The handle is about 10 inches. It features a tsugoha hamon. I like the simpler patterns of the hamon. The complicated ones such as choji is not really my taste, but this is really a personal preference. One interesting thing is that there are actually two bohis. I didn't realize it by just looking at the picture. The large bohi got this rounded end and stop about 1/3 of the habaki. The smaller bohi is called a soi bohi, which covers half the blade. The soi bohi seems to be a common thing on nagamakis. The blade has sashikomi polishing, which is the traditional style of polishing. The munei looks like a mirror. So the look of edge, the hada, and the munei has really distinct layers of texture, which I think is beautiful. My S7 had super mirror polishing, so the entire blade looks the same. Having both, I will prefer this one. The blade is very sharp, but not as sharp as the super mirror polishing I opt for on my S7. And that one is sharp like hell. It cuts through most of the things like a butter. If you want to do tamashigiri, I highly recommend asking them to do a super mirror polishing on your blade. But I wouldn't want that on this one because this looks better. My S7 is purposed for tamashigiri only, so I don't care about the look. The saya has an interesting exterior finish. It is like starry night with colorful stars. They told me that it is made of shell pieces. Unlike the S7, this saya is not a mass production one. It's made for the blade, so there is absolutely no rattle and it fits perfectly. So I also own a Huawei Dontanuki blade, and I think the area that Huawei does better than ShadowDancer is the saya. The exterior finish of the Huawei's saya is excellent for its theme, yet the koiguchi and interior are visibly better. The only issue I had with Huawei's saya is that it is way too tight for the blade, that I cannot even draw or sheath with one hand. I'm not sure if it will leave scratches on the blade. Again, the saya is costly and takes time to make, so you can opt it out. But I personally think the saya, combined with purple and silver theme, really complete the look of the entire blade. Now it comes to the handle. I couldn't appraise ShadowDancer more for the shape of their handle. I might be biased because I am very particular about the shape and the feel of the handle. The ShadowDancer's handles are surprisingly good. It is slim, waisted, comfortable. The line fits really nicely with the blade and saya. That checks all the boxes of what I prefer in a handle. When I received my S7 from them, I was surprised that their handle looks even better on my Nagamaki Nosaka. I like that handle a lot, and it is quite consistent on this one. The look of the handle is the best I have ever seen, including a Dotanoki Huawei, Minosaka, Ronin katana, and those on the various katanas people in my dojo use. The fittings is silver musashi, and it feels expensive. They added a touch of matte gray finish to make it antique. That seems like somebody like it. Just in case if you are new to this one like me, when I see a silver fitting offered, I always check whether the fitting is solid or plated silver. A plated silver is only a thin layer of copper coating applied to a brass base. If it is plated, then after some use, the coating might wear off and it will mess up the color. So a plated fitting will be a deal breaker for me. Even some of the high-end brands seem to offer plated silver only, such as Minosaka. So I'm very happy to see that the fitting on this one are all solid silver, except for the sapper. I personally like their silver fitting compared to a brass, so I think I will choose the silver fitting again on my next sword from them. Another thing is that ShadowDancer seem to offer fittings of the same theme at different price point. I got Musashi theme on both the S7 and this one, so I can do a proper comparison. And I can tell that the fitting on this one is way more nice looking and expensive. The Ito is kapok, imported from Japan. When I received my S7, they specifically asked how I feel about the Ito on the S7 compared with Huawei. I said that for S7, the diamonds are more consistent, and the Ito is very tight, but not as tight as the Huawei, because the Ito on the Huawei is hard like a rock. But I just want to clarify that I had nothing to complain, and I'm very happy with the Ito on the S7. However, for this new sword, it is just as tight as the Huawei. I'm not sure whether they took the feedback or it is just because this one is more expensive. This is a fairly expensive sword, and I'm not going to cut with it just yet, but I can comment on the handling. The bulky and thinner tip push the balance closer to the Suba. It is significantly more maneuverable than S7 and Huawei. I'm trained on the Katori Shinto-ryu. I can do kata very comfortably with it. My overall ordering experience with ShadowDancer has been great. The production lengths are typically a mass production sword takes about a week to finish. For those that are harder to make, like this one, it takes about a month or so. If you order a fully replica sword where they don't have any fitting, it will take much longer. In terms of the customization, they actually do real sword replicas, so they can create a sword from scratch for you if you can provide them all the specifications, such as model haba, kisaki, etc. Another thing that many people are wondering is the connection between ZC and the ShadowDancer, or previously Dragon Sword. The perfect analogy I heard is that ZC and Dragon Dancers are like Lexus and Toyota, and that's actually very accurate. ZC focuses on the swords above $1,000, and the ShadowDancer focuses on anything under. But there are overlaps. I haven't tried ZC yet, but I really heard very good things about them, and I'm planning to try one if the budget fits. Finally, I'd like to talk about some controversies with ShadowDancer. Here's a summary of what happened. ShadowDancer sent reviewer sample to some YouTubers and received mixed review, and the response from ShadowDancer does not look gentle. I watched the entire episode of the drama, and I'd like to share my 2 cents on this. First, I got to text back and forth on many topics with ShadowDancer's representative that is in charge of the overseas sales. I believe he's one of the owners. He's very friendly, and they are quite proud of their products for the price points, but they are also very open about their shortcomings and often ask for feedbacks on these words. And the second thing is that the competition among long-chain sword makers is fierce, and there are people that are constantly trying to attack other makers on Chinese social media. And moreover, they seem to be quite knowledgeable about the Japanese swords. I feel they really care a lot about the reproducing certain features or processes of Japanese swords, especially for their mid to high-end products. Sometimes that might not be appreciated by some customers who just want a tool to cut with. There's absolutely nothing wrong about that. I think beside Matthew Jensen, the other reviewer that they sent the S7 to fall into that category. So those could make them overprotective, whereas these reviewers certainly mean no harm, they just sharing their honest opinions. What makes it worse is the language barrier. I can tell from my own experience that if you directly translate from Chinese to English, there are many words that will appear unfriendly. For example, calling someone unprofessional is a very harsh accusation in English, but in Chinese terms, it's usually quite neutral. It just means that someone is either not specialized in something, or not doing something for a living, or not measuring something using specialized equipment. That is the end of this video. I hope you enjoy it. If you have any suggestions or questions, please feel free to leave a comment. Thank you. Peace out.